Hello everyone, Matt from Model Minutes here, and welcome back to the workbench for another unboxing. Today I'm going back into the past and taking a look at this, the F-100C Super Sabre from Revell. So join me as I get stuck inside the box and see what this kit is like. So starting off on the outside of the box, we've got an image of the F-100 landing with its drogue chute deployed. You can see, I think this is actually a fairly reasonable representation of what we're going to get inside the kit. You can see that it's got some armament. I think these are technically bombs, but they've painted them in silver on here. And it says it's scaled from official North American aviation plans. It has landing gear, pilot decals, and the box top painting you can frame, so you could cut that out and keep it. On the edge here, we have Revell Authentic Kit. It's made in Great Britain. So this is Revell Great Britain, which immediately tells me when this is manufactured, because we'll look at that in a minute. And we have the information here about the Super Sabre jet fighter bomber. This item code is H127. Flipping over to the other side, and it shows us some of the stages that this kit took to be constructed. You can see that we have a fuselage, we add wings to it, cockpit, and under wing stores. It's real because it's Revell. I love that. This is such a blast from the past, isn't it? On the thin edge here, you can see we have basically the same sort of information, so you can spot it on the sort of shelf. We have a price of 6 shillings and 11 pence, which I'll talk about a bit later on. And then the other side features the same. One thing I do want to mention, I mean, obviously this is a vintage kit. It has yellowed slightly. There are some little marks here over the years, but the box feels really robust. It's like a nice, solid, like really like decent box. It's nice, high quality cardboard. I think, you know, Revell have had a bit of a bad rep in recent years for making such thin and flimsy boxes that don't really protect it. But like this, you could stand on that and that's not going to go anywhere. There is one thing I do want to share with you. And if I flip over the box here, you can see that we have a little bit of an inscription. So this was a gift. Clearly at one point, Andrew received this from Esther and Jack. And I didn't see this originally. This kit was actually a gift from my wife. So I think she obviously must have bought it secondhand, because there's no way she couldn't have. But obviously at some point, these people gave this to Andrew, and I have no idea who these people are, and no idea what the story is there. But it broke my heart a little bit, because this was clearly given with the intention of this person enjoying it at some point in the past, and it was never built. And I hope, Andrew, wherever you are, I might be able to at some point in the future build this one, and hopefully we'll see it all put together. Right, that said, let's have a look inside the box. So nice and sturdy box. And here we are, met with the things. Now, obviously, because this is second-hand, I can't really give it a fair review in the context of a new kit. I have to just deal with what I've got in front of me. So what I'm going to do is look at the instructions first. Instructions have yellowed quite considerably, which is no doubt a product of its time. I don't know if this would have been white paper or if it's just become more yellowed over the years. Now, first thing first. Top right here, or top center, it says this scale of this kit is 1/65. And that's interesting. Nowhere else on the box have we seen a scale. It's not been referenced, but online it would seem that most people believe this to be 170 scale. And in fact, in later boxings, they did market it as 170. I know typically 1/72 is what we normally go with, but 1/65 is what they're actually saying here. We have some information about the F-100 at the top here, and then we have some hints and tips, which is pretty good. You know, it's the sort of stuff we generally expect to see today. Then we come on down and we are met with our first stage, which is to assemble actually quite a lot of the kit by the looks of it. They have given everything a name: intake scoops, fuselage halves, exhaust cap, horizontal stabilizer, and so on. So you can see that we've got a pilot with a representation of cockpit, which goes inside. Then we add the fuselage, then we add our tail and our exhaust and our air intake. We then flip over to the other side, and the next step is to add our wings, and it also tells you where the decals go at the same time. Landing gear has that very old and sort of traditional way of melting the landing gear legs so that the wheels could technically freely rotate. I probably won't do that. I'll probably just glue them on. We have smaller details being added, so landing gear legs go on, pitot tube, landing gear door covers, canopy, and then we come to our underwing stores. So we have bombs and things here. We do have a blurb that goes along with everything here with extra bits of information. But I think this is sort of leading you to just sort of figure it out for yourself as you go along a little bit in regards to like painting and things. Instructions, yeah, product of its time. They seem to work. They'll do the job. This brings us on to the decals. Now you can see this is in a bag. I don't know if the bag would have been original. It's possible that everything did come in the bag originally, but everything is currently loose in the box, apart from the decals. So let's have a look at the decals and see what we have. Right. So one sheet of decals made in Great Britain, Revell, Great Britain Limited. And you can see that the decals are... they're not terrible, I would say. They are clearly suffering from age. They have yellowed. I think that's like an oxidization of the decal film. It could be restored more to a clear condition if I give it some UV light. We do have a little bit of discoloration on there. I don't know if it's got a little bit of water damage over time. Actually, registration isn't too bad. With kits like this, sometimes the printing could be off center. And like your roundels could be off to the one side, and then the white underneath be off to the other side, and it not be great. And things don't line up. But actually, the registration on these is fairly okay. I can't see any cracks or tears in the decal film, which gives me the impression that they may be usable, which would be really good. So if I could get these to get rid of the yellowing, I have a UV light box, so I might just stick it in that for a little while and see if that clears this, and then hopefully we should have decals that can still be used. They don't look too bad. These are designed to go onto the model in specific places, and what I just want to draw your attention to is on the model. So like here, for example, the places where they're going to go are molded on to the surface. So that's a very old way of doing things, isn't it? That's I mean, you could try and paint that yourself if you needed to, but ultimately it's like, that's where the decal goes, put it on there. I'm not going to do anything to address the fact that we have all of these raised decal placement marks. I'm just going to use them as the kit was intended to. So yeah, that's just a small point worth mentioning. So let's put the decals away somewhere safe. We only got the one paint scheme. Obviously, if you wanted to do a different paint scheme, the raised marks on here are going to cause some strokes. You're going to cause problems, aren't they? You're going to have to sand that away because you'd have to do a different paint scheme. But let's look at the parts. So everything's loose. I am hoping everything is here, but if it isn't, I might have to come up with some sort of solution. So we have a fuselage half, and you can see that it's molded in silver. The plastic is, perhaps it feels a little brittle, perhaps. If I were to put too much pressure on it, would probably snap it. We do have rivets. We do have some flash. We do have, generally, it's a little bit clunky, a little bit raised in details, but, you know, product of its time and all that. Lower wing half here, again, some flash, raised details. We have landing gear bays with the absolute like minimum of detail, but funnily enough, it does say right and left in there, or R and L. So obviously it's to make you aware of which side to put it. Again, decal placement marks, and you can see that there's a little hole there, which again lined up with the hole on that one right there, so that you got it in the right place. We do have some sink marks, which they link up with this. And on the inside here, you can see it's not very tidy. There are all these sort of scuffs and mold artifacts. Another wing half numbered on there. You can see it's got a nice bit of warpage, but I think that once I start gluing stuff together, that will straighten out. Another wing half, again, same kind of deal. You can see like in the silver plastic, we've got flow marks. I think originally this would have been designed to just be like glued together, decals put on, and maybe a tiny little bit of paint in a few places, but generally people would keep it in the silver plastic. Wheels, very simple, very crude, but they should do the job. And again, more wheels there, same kind of deal. These little sprues are strange. I wonder if they were all connected at one point and someone's just sort of cut them up. Pitot tube, I think, or refueling probe maybe. We have landing door covers here. Lots of extra flash. Yeah, there would have been parts attached to these. They've been removed. We have another plastic sprue with nothing on it. We have another plastic sprue with nothing on it. So I think someone may have dry fitted this at some point. Another fuselage half, same kind of deal. Missing the tail surface because that tail surface is there. Let's see what the fit is like, or if it's going to need some work. It's not terrible. Yeah, that's not bad. It's going to need a little bit of work along the seams, but actually the fit is generally quite good. The tabs seem to line up quite nicely. What else have we got? Oh, pilot. Hello. There's our pilot. He is molded into the cockpit. The cockpit is like a single piece. Nice mold seam right down the middle. Might need a little bit of cleaning up. The molding on this is interesting. There's like an ejector pin mark right on the back of his head, and you can see that he's always looking to the left. So he's going to have to fly in circles, I think. Next bit, engine exhaust right there. It's fairly simple. Air intake on the front. Tail surface comes as a single piece. Both the upper and the lower are molded together. Oh, hello. Hello, Revell. Don't ever change. They have a copyright date stamped onto the tail. 1962. Well, that immediately tells us that this particular version was from 1962. I am of the impression that it's actually older than that, so it's possible that they changed the copyright date at some point and had to restamp it, or added the stamp. And then we've got all of our other bits and pieces which have come loose from the sprue. So we've got landing gear legs, 2 of. That's handy because I can put it wheels down. I think you could do this wheels up if you wanted to. You would just have to glue the landing gear covers in place. We have, I think this is a fuel tank. I think these are drop tanks. And you can see that the pylon is molded onto one of the halves. Yeah, I'm going to have to look these up because I've seen other people sort of just paint them all green. But I think this is a fuel tank because it looks like it's got a filler cap there. So that's 1, and then that's 2. Then what else do we have? We have front landing gear leg. We have bombs. So again, bombs are molded with the pylons attached to them, and they come in halves. So like 1, 2, 3, 4. What am I missing? One? There's 1, 5, 6. Oh, I think I might be missing a bomb. I think I might be missing half a bomb. Oh no, I've got them all. I'm good. I'm good. Everything's there. So actually, yeah, it does look to be potentially complete. Speaking of canopy part, there it is. Canopy. I think that's seen better days. It's looking a bit scuffed. It's looking a bit scratched. It's a little bit yellowed. Canopy framework is on the inside. Of course it is. Of course it's on the inside. Why wouldn't it be on the outside? I guess I'll just have to follow it with tape rather than cutting along the framework. That's annoying, but hey ho, I'll have to figure it out. So yeah, vintage kit, very much a product of its time. Raised details, raised markings, silver plastic. I think, you know, if you were a kid in the 60s, this would have been really good fun. Obviously, though, it's not up to today's standard. And I hope that I can build it into a reasonable representation of the F-100, but I'm not going to go into this one expecting wonders. This is a little bit of a rescue kit, isn't it? It's going to need a little bit of work just to make it look a bit presentable, but it should be a fun project nonetheless. So let's put everything back in the box so I know where it is. It looks to be complete. Hopefully I can build it with no real issues. One thing worth mentioning, actually, is you'll notice this slot on the bottom of the plane. That does not correspond to a bomb or a rocket or anything like that. I believe that the normal Revell boxings of this kit came with a Revell display stand of that era. And I think it might have had a swivel mount, and you would have obviously put it in there. You'll have noticed that there's no display stand included. And I get the impression, given the instructions, that there was no display stand included in this boxing. Other boxings that I've seen and other instruction sheets that I've seen do make reference to an included display stand, but I think that for this Great Britain release, they didn't include one. So there's just no reference to it. So I don't think it's missing. I just think that for this particular version, it was not included. But speaking of, as this is a Revell Great Britain release, I know we saw a copyright date of 1962. ScaleMates seems to believe that this is a 1956 tooling. So undoubtedly, if it is a 1956 tooling, they added the copyright date after that point. But because this is a Revell Great Britain version, that would lead me to believe that this dates from 1964, or thereabouts. So it's definitely one of the older kits that I have in my stash at present. So this has been available a number of times throughout the years. It's worth remembering that this is a product of its time. It obviously has all of those flaws that we've seen and those raised details that were quite present at that time period. And undoubtedly, as the years have gone by, standards have been raised, and there are other F-100 kits out there which have more modern features and undoubtedly are better quality kits. However, one thing that I found really amusing is that a company called Atlantis reboxed this as recently as 2022. And granted, they didn't necessarily indicate that it was a vintage tooling and things like that, and they did make reference to having, you know, certain details in the kit. But I find that very interesting that even after all this time, companies, even in the 2020s, are releasing this kit. So I think that's just testament to show that some toolings never really die. They keep going on forever and ever. But I would be saying, if you are looking for an F-100 in today's standards, then probably don't be going looking for one of these. I would definitely be looking for another manufacturer from another brand for a more accurate version. However, I think it should be a fun build. I think for a 1956 tooling, it doesn't look terrible. Obviously, it's not up to today's standards, but I'm really hoping that I can help it meet its destiny of being built. And obviously that was the intention at once upon a time, that Andrew was going to build this one. So hopefully I can get it to that point. So this kit was actually a gift. This was a gift from my wife. She must have bought it secondhand. It would be really difficult to find a price for this. Prices for secondhand kits like this, that, you know, they can be a bit rare, they're vintage, they've got flaws. Some people might push the price up because they're rare or because they want to go into collections and, you know, preserve them. I want to build it. Prices can vary based on the condition. Obviously this is all off the sprue. Condition isn't like amazing, but it still looks buildable. So prices can change. It would be really difficult to define a price online. There are some stocks available out there, but obviously you'd have to look around. Realistically, I would say if you found this one for like under a tenner, then yeah, maybe have a go at it, see if you can bring it back to life and save it and help it meet its modeling destiny. However, if you remember, there was a price on the box. I'm going to go ahead and assume that this is indeed like the original price that it was being sold for, or thereabouts. 6 shillings and 11 pence. Well, if this is a 1964 kit, that would make sense from around that sort of time period. Decimalisation happened in the 1970s in the UK. So I did a little bit of looking up stuff. I went on the Bank of England website and I asked what would be the price in pence. So 6 shilling and 11 pence would be 35 pence. And if we convert that to modern money, so do the inflation calculator, this comes out at £6.25. So if this kit was available today, we should be looking at around £6 or £7 for it. That's sort of the same buying power. Obviously, things have changed. I doubt that this kit would retail for that price these days. I would imagine it would probably go for like around about a tenner, given the sort of range it would have been in. It wouldn't be like a high-end model kit. It would probably be like a pocket money kind of range. But, you know, definitely if you can find one for a £6 or £7, that probably makes about sense. And with that, I'm probably going to wrap this one up here. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of my review of this kit and whether my assessment of this vintage boxing was fair. As always, a quick shout out to my Model Club members for the extra support they give the channel. Massive thanks to these guys on screen, and if you'd like to join them or support the channel in other ways, check out the links in the description to find out how. The best way to support the channel for free though is by subscribing with notifications turned on so you never miss a modelling upload. Finally though, last thing to say is a massive thank you to you for watching this one, and I'll see you on the workbench again next time.